Grab your snacks, hide your show mates, ditch your reliance, and let's dive into this Big Brother drama with Kinda Unhinged. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm back with another Big Brother video. We are on episode 26. Shout out to all my new subscribers. Thank you for locking in with me. And we begin this episode right after the nomination ceremony, and Keanu has just put Morgan, Vince, and Mickey on the block. So after the nomination ceremony, Rachel checks in with Keanu, gives him a hug, and he tells her that he's targeting Morgan. Then Keanu goes and finds Vince and gives him a hug and basically tells him, like, I had to do this to teach you a lesson and to show people that I'm not a pushover. You can't just keep stabbing me in the back and I'm just gonna keep acting like it's cool. And Mickey, she's noticing that Morgan's still spending all her time with Vince. So Mickey is trying to rebuild her relationships with Ashley, Will, and Rachel in hopes that they'll vote to keep her in if she's still on the block come eviction night. So Vince and Morgan are, commiserating with each other about being on the block. And Morgan's like, I'm afraid that I might be the target. And Vince is like, I think you are the target. So obviously that makes her feel even worse. So she decides to go and talk to Keanu and figure out if she really is the target. And of course he tells her, you're not the target, even though she is the target. And he wants her out of there so that he can have Vince back and they can work together again and she can be gone. So then Keanu starts trying to figure out how he can rebuild his relationship with Vince. And he's thinking, all right, if Morgan's my target, I get her out this week. I want to keep working with Vince. Well, how can I show him that we're good? Well, if I use the veto on him and take him down, then he'll see that he can trust me, or I can get someone else to use the veto on him and take him down. So he goes and talks to Kelly and he's like, if you play in the veto and you win the veto, would you take Vince down? And Kelly's just looking like, what? But he's convinced that she's going to do it. And then he goes and has the same conversation with Lauren, which isn't really far-fetched for Lauren considering that she did that last week. Then we get an interesting segment that, if you don't watch live feeds, then maybe you don't know how touchy-feely Morgan and Vince are, but they are. Which would normally be fine, except for the fact that Vince has a girlfriend. So I thought it was interesting that they addressed this on the episode. So Ava was walking in the room and Vince was asleep and Morgan was like stroking his arm, saying that she's trying to wake him up. But she doesn't say like, I'm trying to wake him up in a normal voice. She actually whispers it. So are you really trying to wake him up, or what's going on here? And Ava's just like, feeling like she walked in on an intimate situation. So she goes out and tells Will and Rachel, and Will's just like, man, yeah, some of the stuff I see, like, I just want to tell him, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. And Rachel's like, well, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. You get close in this house, lines get blurred. And you know what? That's true. But you guys let me know, what do y'all think about Vince and Morgan's relationship? I think it is a little teetering on that line. But anyway, right before the veto comp, Keanu and Kelly talk because Kelly and Lauren were picked to play in the veto, which played right into what Keanu wanted, because now that's 4 chances for Vince to be saved by the veto. So Keanu checks in with Kelly and he's like, yeah, we just need you to win the veto so you can use it and pull Vince down. And she was like, well, yeah, I got to think about it. I could use it on Morgan and build my relationship with her and have her as an ally. And Keanu's like, no, you have to use it on Vince. Like, we talked about that. But she's not on board with that because Vince has burned her so many times. So she wants him to go home. She'd rather use it on Morgan, which would be a brand new ally. So Mickey is starting to see that there aren't too many options for renoms to go on the block. It would either be Ava, Ashley, or Rachel that would go on the block. And she's thinking in order to save herself and her allies, and maybe if she wins the veto, it would be best for her to stay on the block because at least she'd have the numbers to take her off if she's still on there on eviction night. So now we get to the veto comp, and Angela from BB26 and her charcuterie board are both back. And this competition is a stacking competition. So the first person to stack all of these pieces of Angela's charcuterie on their podium, the fastest wins. Sounds easy enough, right? Except the fact that there are these giant Angela faces that come around every so often and knock down all of your progress. So she starts off by giving them 2 minutes. They couldn't get it in 2 minutes. She gave them 3 minutes. They couldn't get it in 3 minutes. I mean, they're over there struggling, okay? And Angela is just chilling, eating her charcuterie. She couldn't have another care in the world. That was hilarious to me. So she gives them 4 minutes. Now, most of them have almost got it in 4 minutes. So when she finally gives them 5, I'm like, all right, we're going to have a winner here. And Morgan wins the golden power of veto. This is like the season of when our back is against the wall, we win. Because Morgan was supposed to be the target, and she pulls out the win, grabs the veto. So, you know, things got to shake up a little bit. So Rachel is like, all right, obviously Morgan's going to pull herself off the block. So I got to try to keep me and Ashley off the block. So I'm going to do whatever I can to stay in Keanu's good graces. Maybe I'll make him lasagna because that's his favorite. And listen, if you've ever made lasagna, then you know that that is a task. I love lasagna as well. I do not love making lasagna because it is a whole thing. She makes him a muffin. That's one of his favorites, brings it to him. She's really buttering him up. So after she makes him the lasagna and waits for him and Kelly to finish this long game of chess, she asks if she can talk to him. And she tries to pitch to him the idea of maybe putting Lauren up instead of putting Ashley or Ava. And he's like, you know, what would that do for me? And then Ashley talks to Keanu, and she honestly makes it worse by saying, oh, well, if you put me up, then I'm going to come after you. And Rachel's going to come after you as well. And this is not how you get people to do stuff for you anywhere. You don't go threatening them. I'm like, Ashley, I'm literally yelling at the screen. Ashley, what are you doing? You're supposed to go in there and be like, I would never put you up. Even if you put me up, I'm not going to put you up. You don't double down and make it worse. Obviously, now, of course, he wants to put you on the block. So Keanu comes up with this plan because he knows how much Morgan cares about Vince and how she'll do anything to save him in this game. So Keanu's like, what if I tell Morgan if she used the veto on Vince, he would promise her that he would put Lauren on the block. But once she put the veto around Vince's neck, she would tell Ashley to go get on the block. And then Morgan would go home, which would be diabolical, but I am all here for that. I love the backstabbing and the shenanigans. I love it. He tells Vince this plan, and I mean, he loves the plan because obviously it's taking him off the block, but he's like, would she go for it? So Keanu decides to pitch this plan to Morgan, see if he can rope her in and do the bait and switch on her. And he talks to her, and it seems like it's gonna work. And she's like, oh, let me call Vince in here and tell him. So she calls Vince in there, and she's like, hey, we got a way that maybe both of us can stay. And he has to act. And as we know, Vince loves acting. So she's like, yeah, we got a way that maybe both of us can stay. She's like, if I use the veto on you and then Keanu puts up Lauren, then Lauren will go home and then we'll both stay. And Vince is like, wait, what? You mean how? Like, so he's trying to act. And I'm like, you know what? Stick to crying, because this being shocked, it wasn't working for me, but Morgan didn't pick up on it. But I'm like, man, this is so fake. So for a minute there, Morgan is really considering doing this plan so that she can keep both of them safe. But ultimately, when we get to the veto ceremony, Morgan decides to use the power of veto on herself and take herself off the block. And then Keanu renoms Ashley. And Ashley is mad. She is heated. She starts clapping. She puts on a whole show. She calls him Tarzan. She's like, you can't win your way to the end. You gotta have a social game. And you told me I was safe. Then you put me on the block. And he's like, I told you you were safe? She was like, yeah, you actually told Rachel that me and her both were safe. And he's like, Rachel, I told you that? He did not tell you that, Rachel. He told you you were safe. He never told you Ashley was safe. But you guys let me know what y'all thought about this episode in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more Big Brother content, please subscribe. And if you like this video, please hit the like.
Flurries, you better grab a life vest. Kristen.